Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Subconscious Expert. It has been such a while since I have had a little cheeky success story on the podcast, and by God, it is a juicy one today. We were just talking before the podcast started, and I was like, can we even remember where you were way back when? But Laurie, welcome. I am so excited that you're here. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. So let's kind of dive in. Tell us a little bit about where you were with your business, but mostly where you were with your subconscious when we first started working on the subconscious depth that we did.
Yeah, so before we started working together, I knew that I had more to do.
Yes,
It's fair to say. So I came into your program first, the CEO Edge,
yes,
and I knew, Bex, that I'm very organized. I'm very strategic. I do the reps. I do the work. I show up. I market like I mean it every day. But
yeah.
I just wasn't quite getting the results from that. And I knew it was me. I knew I was the problem, as Taylor Swift says. And I knew that there was stuff to be done. And I had kind of pushed it away and pushed it down. So I was like, oh, I don't really know if I want to explore this. I was very anti woo,
Yeah,
anti fluffy,
yes.
all that. I had listened to hundreds of your podcasts. You were my cooking accompaniment every single day in my old flat, to get the sense that this is what I wanted to do, and you were the person I wanted to do it with. And as soon as we started to work together, I realized that I am someone who can undertake hypnosis, who can dive deeper, and who can move things really, really, really quickly. And
Yes.
I knew that I had to be ready to receive more in the business and be ready to change my identity before I could go to the next level. It was that I'm doing all the things, Bex, but why is it not working?
Yes. And there was like such that frustration. I think, and it was a frustration of like, I am putting in the goddamn reps. Like you said, like you were doing the thing, you were
Yeah.
consistent, there were so many things working for you. And I think that's where you started to really understand that there was a few things underneath, which we did then go ahead and kind of dig in and look at. And there's been a lot of changes, to be honest, both in when we worked together, both in business, but in your other areas of your life as well, isn't it? And I'm sure we'll kind of talk about that today as well. But I think from that digging, it allowed us to really show some sort of the patterns. Are you happy to kind of go into a couple of the patterns that we found?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the biggest like aha moment or like oh right kind of moment with those patterns? Because there were a couple, weren't there, that were really prominent for us when they came up.
Yeah, so it was around I have to be seen as capable, competent at all times.
Yeah.
I have to be, and I went right back, and it was I was like 6, and I was having to be, I was being the person who packed my own bags to go dancing, not because my mum wouldn't do it. She 100% would do anything for me. It was because I wanted to make sure I had it all done and for everyone else. And I was so used to fixing things and sorting things and organizing things that I didn't know how not to do that. And I really certainly didn't know how to accept help in my
Yeah.
life and my business. And I always say that it's when you're on your own, as I was, that there is no one, that there's no one to ask the tiny things when you can't. I have so much support and love in my life, always have. But if you needed to get the lid off a jar, you just had to wrestle with it because there's no one there.
Turn it off. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, I was used to doing all of that. And it really, I knew it was starting to hold me back because I
Yeah.
wasn't able to ask for help.
Yes. And you know what was funny? And I'm going to say this because I feel like a lot of other people go through this as well. It kind of became very prominent. So you started in a group container with me. We then went on to work one to one. Now you're in the membership and keeping in the maintenance. But it was really apparent for you in the group setting because you were like, look at me, star student, getting it done. You've asked me to do this. Then I'm doing this. Like everything was so like tick, 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 tick. And it almost, and I've had people experience that again since you, but that almost showed like really shone a light on that that part that we really worked on as well, wasn't it? That kind of like, I must be seen in this way, in this aspect, in this space. Can you remember kind of having that
Oh
realization?
yeah, like it comes across as real teacher's pet energy, and it's like I want to do it, and I want to do it today, and I'll have it finished by this afternoon. And there was no space, so there was no reflection. It was all like tick, 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 rush, 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 on to the next thing. And I never really stopped to smell the roses. I was always on to the next. Not from a place ever of, and you knew this really clearly, it was never from a place of being not content.
Oh God.
It's weird that I was really content, but I still wanted to make me seem capable all the time. And I can't possibly let anyone down by that perfectly reasonable, normal thing that I want to ask them, you know?
And so you did, and so you did, and so we started to dive, which was amazing. What did you see when we were working together change the most subconsciously for you when we started to dig into that?
Yeah, it was just like, what would it be like to just sit in this and just not fix it, not change it, actually go through the feels, like just sit in the discomfort. And I hear myself saying it to clients now all the time when they come to me saying, like, I haven't heard back. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. I want to reassure you, but you're just going to have to sit in it,
Yeah,
you know? Yeah,
yeah.
but you're just going to have to do it.
Be uncomfortable, but what actually being uncomfortable allowed you to do was to actually hold way more. I think when we started to, and you started to see the change, and I know you've grown exponentially since we finished, and from the containers that you've been in there as well. But the scalability that happened, and I think, obviously, like, just being able to really hold yourself in that and allow that to happen rather than zooming on to the next thing to sort or to tick or to do, really gave you that time to actually see what you wanted as well. I really felt that when we worked together.
Yeah, like what is the next thing? What would be the right thing to do? And being able to sort of explore that rather than, and also searching for the sort of externally for someone to give me the thing. And I know, and I again massively was able to pass this to my clients. Like, I had everything I needed. I just had to stop rushing from one thing to the next and
Mm.
sit with the what might I like to do next. And it wasn't, again, that was constantly people pleasing. That's not a trait that I have. It was about constantly striving rather than just sitting in it.
Yeah. And actually, the striving is an incredible trait to have. And I think, we remember having that conversation where we were like, we don't want to get rid of this. We just want
Mm-mm.
to use it in a way that's actually going to serve you rather than keeping it coming from the wrong intention almost. And it was coming from a gorgeous intention, of course, but like, it was also to the detriment of your growth, really. But when we started to
Yeah,
see how we could use it in a different light, and I think, the reason why I wanted to say that is a lot of people are like, but I want to keep my drive. I want to keep my ambition. I want to keep my logic and be able to do all of these things. And we absolutely did that, didn't we? It was just being able to have space to create that. There's like a very clear session with you that sticks in my mind, and I can literally see your backdrop. I can see the background. I can see exactly. It was such a moment where you were like, okay, yes. And I think from there, you really allowed yourself to grow as
yeah,
well.
absolutely. I was really holding myself back. And a lovely coach I'd worked with before you had said to me, there's more to dig here, but you're not, we need to. And I was like, now let's just close the door in that box right now and let me do this. Just give me things to do and I'll do them. I don't want a coachy coach. I want someone to tell me what to do and I'll go and do it. But
Yeah.
I knew I had to go there. Yeah.
Mm, mm. What else changed from this work, do you think?
Well,
Loaded
well,
question. She knows where we're going to go with
well,
it.
when we met, as you know, I was very happily living on my own in my little one bed. We were working from my little cloffice,
Yes.
my closet office, which I'd been in I had that little flat for 10 years. Very shortly after we worked together, I was not looking, was very, very, very fine on my own. But I met a lovely, lovely man through a really good friend. I sold my flat Huge leap of trust for someone as independent as me. Moved in, and we've now been together for nearly 18 months. He also, unfortunately, we lost her in the summer of Bex, but he also had a massive, scary Rottweiler, and I was terrified of even the smallest and fluffiest of dogs. And she became just my such a close part of my life.
Yeah.
My whole entire life flipped, and I know it was from doing the work around being more open. I would not have described myself as closed in any way, but I just wasn't looking. I had a really nice life. This allowed me to see that help and other things were possible. And that allowed me, and it has not been easy. I still sometimes wrestle with the jar, honestly, when he's sitting like 2 feet away from me and he'll say, I could do that for you, or I could slice your loaf slightly better than those triangle chunks that you're doing right now. Just say. Um, and I have, I run my business friends, we're all pathologically independent women, so it was hard. But I
Yes.
now have we've just spent the weekend together dancing down in my hometown to some of our old favourites, having a brilliant time, and life is really, really lovely.
Yeah. And I think that was such a special moment for me when you messaged me, kind of celebrating the sale of your flat, and like all of those things, and just having that moment that it did unlock the door. And I think that is the power of this work, is you never came in to work with me to work on that ever. In fact, it didn't even cross your mind. It wasn't something that we ever spoke about. But actually, things have such a domino effect, especially subconsciously, with what it opened you to. I know you then went and added, really driving the LinkedIn mentorship as well, which we'll talk about today. So there were so many things that kind of opened peripherally, I think, from allowing that to come in, which is amazing. Are there any subconscious practices that you still do today that you kind of enjoy doing, or that we did that you still carry on?
Yes, definitely. And that's part of where being the membership that you run is really good for me, is I still do, if I know that, I'm in the horrors of
Yes.
the launch, we still get them. I will make myself say, this is the horrors, like what's coming up here, what parts are coming up, and go back and I did it last time, Bex, the visualization about this is safe to have,
Mm,
this is safe to have, to hold. Everything's fine, it's coming. And again, I say this, like, imagine you were going to have 2 job offers by the end of this week. How would you go in differently? You'd go in a very, very different. And you can see it in the body language and everything changes. It's like, I'd be like, just a conversation, just a chat. Yeah, like it takes the fear away. So I still do and this, it makes my business friends laugh so much because I'm so anti-woo. And I'll say, well, I was doing my visualization this morning, and they're like, you were what?
for
Sorry, what?
you.
Who even are you? I get that a lot, actually. Who even are you? But who I am is someone, and they do, who I am is someone who knew that things had to change, invested in my growth, and did the work, because I knew that there was more for me to do, and I knew that there were things that had to change. So yeah, I'd still very much hold to it. And when things are not feeling right, I can sit and say, oh, where's this coming from?
Yes, it's that
How
awareness.
true is this?
Yeah.
What's that awareness? I still then go and take action.
Yeah.
That hasn't been hammered out of me, and I'm glad. I
Yeah.
still then say, right, okay, what's the reality? What's the truth?
Yeah.
And go to my list, do my personal outreach, do my posts, do all my things, but I do it from a place of, this is normal. This is a completely expected feeling for this thing. You just have to sit with it,
Yeah.
work through it, and come into it.
I like that, because it's a completely different state. I remember one of the behaviors that you were doing was this like constant check-in, wasn't it, at one point? Like you almost got yourself into this habit of like constantly check-in all the time, like whether sales were coming in, or that, like, it was almost like coming from this like energy, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Whereas now it looks very different now, but also you have the ability to spot that and shift where that's coming from, which I think was a big thing of like your energy and how you take action from what energy you're in. So that's amazing to hear that you still work through those things. That makes me a very proud, happy coach. I'm like, well,
yeah.
props for you. And yes, if you are the same as Laurie, like not woo woo, and a little bit not on that side and like the more logic and like the more this is what we do, we cater to that in my world. We cater to
Absolutely.
that. So, how did you find the full experience of working together?
It was just so, I know the word transformational gets bandied about a lot, but it was completely transformational because I did identify the parts, the patterns, the noises that were holding me back, the places where I like to go when things are not so good,
Yeah.
and where they come from. And I now notice I can stop them in their tracks so that before the loop starts, I'm able to say, okay, I hear you. However, let's have a little look at the evidence. Let's
Yeah.
see where this is coming from and let's go there. Let's look at what is the worst thing that could happen. And is that really that bad? Because since we've worked together, I've worked hard on stacking my monthly recurring revenue so that lots of the time when I put something on offer, if it doesn't sell, and they do, if it doesn't sell, it's actually not the end of the world anyway, because I have some stacked revenue, my reputation, my credibility has grown, and I don't have to come at it all from a place of this. It's this or nothing.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that makes me like my smile's hurting. That makes me so happy, especially the reoccurring revenue, because that's something that you really wanted. And, a lot of the goals was that every time, wasn't it? That it kept like coming up and this is what I want, and this is what I want, and this is what I want. So to be able to, yes, do the work, and I know you've done way more in setting that up since we've worked together, but to hear that is just incredible. So I'm proud of you. Very proud. If you had to sum up in one word, if you've got it, the experience, what would it be?
Educational. It was
Oh,
a real learning about myself, which I understood and understand, like marketing. See, I'm a marketer. I'm a small business owner, but I understood and understand getting in front of people. But I had to understand a lot more about myself.
mm.
That was what really changed for me. Like, where do my parts come from? Where does my little bossy 6 year old come from? She still has a
Still
little visit now and again, by the way. She's still there. But yeah, I know how to handle her now and how to rein her in and, send her on her merry way now, which
yes,
is
have a
yeah,
little holiday.
brilliant.
I love that. I love that. That makes me so happy. Amazing. Right, let's dive into you. Let's dive into what you do and where that's grown. So, career and LinkedIn mentor, which I love, which has been an additional since we've worked together. So, tell us who you serve, who you help, what you do. Let's kind of dive in.
Yeah, so when we work together, and I've been working for a while with sort of mid and senior level women in careers, helping them to identify their next move. So, what was possible, what they wanted, and then go and get that with help around the practical stuff. So, really practical work with CVs, cover letters, applications, interviews, and LinkedIn. And as time went on, Bex, it became clearer and clearer every time I spoke to other business owners. I do a lot of networking. They would constantly ask me, like, how do you do LinkedIn like you do? What do I need to do to have LinkedIn like yours? Like, I want to have LinkedIn like what you do. How do you get all your clients from there? And I started to teach that to other business owners. And sort of for about the last year, I've offered those services kind of in tandem.
Wow.
Um, because I really understand that it's the one place that business owners it's fear to tread. They just don't want to do it. They take their amazing stuff from Instagram, they plonk it on LinkedIn, but you've lost the personal and the stories. So there's no why you, and it just doesn't resonate. So they scuttle back off to Instagram and they've missed out on this amazing audience. And so many amazing business owners are doing it because they're just a bit like, I don't really know what's allowed and what's
Mm.
professional and AI and, ugh. So making it a creative framework, the real framework, which is REAL, which is all about, repurposing, thinking about your audience, adapting and using a combination of posts so that people get to know you as well as your work, because it's actually fairly easy to stand out as a human on LinkedIn if you behave and act as a human. So it is
Yes.
all about being real rather than leaning on the AI. And that side of the business has grown massively. I've now got a LinkedIn group program about to start for the second time. I've just had a message this afternoon from someone saying, like, my name's getting mentioned in rooms full of opportunities, all the things that I wanted to happen. People are starting to make LinkedIn a habit, but one that's really profitable and lucrative. I've started to do a lot more speaking around that. I've just spoke at Scottish Marketing Summit, the very first one a few weeks ago, about getting real on LinkedIn to a room of marketers, not at all scary. And yeah, it's in a great place. I'm still doing all the work on the career side. I've been doing that. It's been my bread and butter for 10 years. That's not going anywhere. I just wanted to add in the LinkedIn piece because I just think it's such a missed opportunity for so many businesses.
It's almost like a thing that people don't even think about, isn't it? And I think it's becoming more thought about recently. I do agree.
Definitely.
What do you find the biggest holdbacks are for business owners that would be, for example, listening to this podcast and the type of client that that I work with? What do you see being the biggest either resistance or kind of block for people getting on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think it's often like if they've had a corporate career, Bex, and they think, oh my God, what if Sandra that I worked with, 25 years ago sees me and I'm talking about wellness or menopause or periods or art, and she just thinks it's all a bit silly.
Yeah.
And there's actually a whole piece, especially for sort of folks in the kind of wellnessy, well-being a space. And I've just had a couple in my last cohort, actually. It's that, is it kind of like serious and professional enough for LinkedIn? But the answer is always people on there are people. They have sore backs, hot flushes, sore
Yeah.
hips,
Yeah.
all the things you're talking about. Sometimes you need to use different words, but
Mm.
people think that's robotic and professional language. Actually, it's just different language because, as I say, what happens when people just cut and paste their Insta content? The personal bits that are in your stories, the walking your dog, the putting on your makeup, the having a chat, all get missed. And
Yes.
they're the bit that actually sells people on the why you. Because I had a call with someone after another program I was on not so long ago, and she was like, yeah, it's not really working for me. And I was like, can I tell you why? And she was like, oh,
Go on.
please do. So I said, you just literally look and sound like every other middle-aged woman coach on the internet. And after 5 minutes on this call, I can tell that you're not. You've told me about this and your story and that and your story and that and your story. But none of that is, I can't see any of that. So I can't know that I want to work with you because you just sound the same as everybody else. So it's that people get a bit hung up on the what's allowed and what will people think, and they sit in this kind of like, and I've done it, I said this to you, sometimes I used to revert to like Elizabethan English, like on the day of our Lord, and you feel like you have to go into this really weird like, and I've stopped that. And I just had a call with a coach today, and she was just like, you write as you speak, which is great. People get a total sense of you. You're exactly the same offline as online. You're so genuine.
Yeah.
And that often is the sticky bit. People just don't know how to translate. And it's all, whether you're looking for a new job or whether you're looking for clients and opportunities, it's all about positioning yourself so that I understand, oh, it's about resonance, Beck. So why did I pick you? I picked you because the musical theatre background, we've got that in common, the sort of slightly precocious, talented child with jazz hands and tap shoes. And I knew that you got me. And
Yeah.
that's why people pick you. It's not, oh, you have the best qualification. No one's ever asked me about qualifications. And by the way, I have none in coaching. I have learned it over 10 years and I'm a mentor, not a coach for that reason. But it's about resonance and people know that you get them or
Yeah.
you don't. And
Yes.
that's what people miss with LinkedIn because they try to be professional and corporate. You don't have to do that anymore. I think you had to 5, 10 years ago.
Yes.
In this world of hundreds of AI generated content, it's not this, it's that. Hundreds of slide carousels on, very highly contrasted slide decks. What works is humanness and people love it.
Yeah. And I think like you can be quite opinionated and like
100%.
draw a conversation in on LinkedIn, can't you? The clients that I've worked with who are over on there, the more opinionated you are, the more you share that, the more reach you have, and really kind of, I almost feel like you don't get that space on Instagram. Almost, it feels
You
very different.
don't. And yeah, you're so right. People love an opinion. My best post of the whole year, and I probably post most days, was about This year when I fly on holiday, I won't be taking my too tight shorts and my strapless bra, and I'm not sorry. And I got that was the most 16,000 views into that, because everybody's got there and gone, oh, I can't put those shorts on; they're far too tight. I've just, my stomach's out here, it's too hot, they're clinging to me. Everybody got it. And again, it was that resonance piece of, oh, I completely agree. I'm just not, lots of women of a certain age, I'm 47, came forward and said, I'm just not doing it anymore. I'm going for comfy dresses. I'm just not playing that game. Why do we do this to ourselves? And it was all about that. It was nothing to do with business. But when I say to people, you can have an opinion. I don't ever post anything mean or nasty.
No,
And I
no.
don't ever, I'm not that kind of person. I don't post anything about war or politics by choice.
Yeah.
You can have an opinion without being horrible. And that was my opinion, which no one can take away from me. I didn't pack those bloody shorts and I didn't take the strapless bags. I just looked at it and thought, I just can't. I'm just not doing it. Um, it's it's that it's like I'm not hoiking that round my sweaty skin. I'm just not doing it. So that and posts about building the business, wins, not so wins, all of that stuff gets great traction because people go, oh yeah, I get it, it's real, it's understandable, and it makes people go, that's me, or
Mm,
she sees me. Like we've talked about this, that real, it's as if you're in my, and how many times do you get people saying it's as if you're in my brain?
yes.
Were you
Yes.
listening to my conversation I had with my husband this morning?
Yeah.
Literally having this conversation every day right now. Every day my husband's like, phone that woman, and that woman is me or you, because the husband's like, please sort yourself out. I'm sick of the tears. And that is what people really, really get. So opinions, and as I say, not people like, oh God, I don't mean anything. I always say if I had a boss, right, which I don't, if I had a boss, they couldn't sack me for saying, about my shorts or my holidays or a dog or, they can't. It's all true. It's all my own thoughts and opinions. It's nothing clickbaity. It's just that people go, oh,
And they
oh
get,
yeah, she
yeah,
gets it.
exactly. They get to know you, they get to understand
Yeah.
you. And I think in a world where LinkedIn was not that, which it wasn't back in the past, was it? But definitely, like you said, it has moved into that now. And I do feel that Instagram's almost following suit in the way of a lot of people want the personal content. They want to see what you're up to. They want to know all of those things even more than they used to, not just in your stories, but in your posts as well. It's incredible for you to have that much experience on LinkedIn and then be able to take someone's brain from Instagram and bring it over. That's really where I see your kind of, that's your power, isn't it? Because you understand both
Yeah.
so well as well, don't you?
Yeah, and I think people, get so hung up. And when I look at them, I always say it's not that you're not asking you to start from scratch here. You've got a ton of really good content. Here's how I would change it when you don't have the graphic. And
Yes.
it's so freeing thinking you don't have to put a picture. You can just write words. I was in the toilet at 10:30 last night writing my LinkedIn post, well-being sorts. I always say sorry, not sorry, but I was. And you can just hash out some words. You
Yeah.
don't have to think, now shall I find a pretty picture? Which,
Yes.
as someone who's not a visual person, I find Instagram really, really challenging. I sit in my chair most of my day doing my work, which is confidential. That's it. I don't have pretty pictures. Yes, I have templates, and yes, I have help with that, but it's an extra thing to do. Whereas LinkedIn, you can just use your words. How good's
Yeah,
that?
I know. Back in the day, remember that? Just using our
I know,
words.
right?
That's nice. If someone was getting started on LinkedIn, I know you obviously got the formula, but where would you say for them to like make it feel a little bit more normal if they were coming over from Instagram? I know we've really honed in on the LinkedIn, but I think it's going to be a good conversation for my audience. But yeah, where would you say for them to kind of begin?
Yeah, so that post that you've got on Insta, Rebecca, your pinned post that says like about me or welcome or start here or something like that, that
Yeah.
just you can do it as a carousel, just download it as a PDF, upload it as a document to LinkedIn. You can have your carousel, but you can also just have a bit of what works really well as an intro. I've got lots of new followers, about me, just as a start, so that folk get to know you, and then that really drives engagement and traction. And the more people will see that, they will then see your business post. Unfortunately, as on all platforms, your buy my stuff starts tomorrow posts get the least, your
Yeah.
personal get the most traction. All all the damn day, even though that's what actually pays us and keeps us eating. But you have to do the personal first. So introductions, who you are, what you do, why you do it, when you started, who you do it with, who you do it for, a little bit of the how, and a sort of snapshot of you as a human with a good photo of you. Smiling is usually good, and if you have pets, children, etc., those do it very well. I always say that's a great way to start, and it just lets people get. If you have the comfort to show your children, I know not everyone does, that's fine, and show who you are, what you do, so that people have a bit of something to start with. I was saying to someone the other day who joined a group program, she came on the call. The first thing she says, Bex, isn't let's talk about LinkedIn. It was like, oh, I saw you were at ABBA Voyage a few weeks ago. What a lovely time we had when we went there. That's
Yeah,
what starts the conversation.
yeah.
Humanness and connection, and something that resonates. That's just a commonality between the two of you.
I love that. I love that. Weirdly, the very first coach that I worked with found me on LinkedIn. Like, I just find that still so weird to this
So
day.
weird.
Like, yeah, she like found me on LinkedIn, pitched to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm in. Let's go.
Let's do this.
My LinkedIn like start, and I did actually used to do LinkedIn campaigns just before COVID hit. I've got quite a few people over there, not the right people, but I've got quite a few people over there. But yeah, this is
Yeah.
definitely food for thought, and I know it will be for everyone else. So thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch upon that we haven't, or that I haven't asked?
Yeah, I think for your audience, they are mostly business owners, but if anyone's listening to this who has a friend or a family member who is in the weeds of trying to find a job right now in this crazy market,
Yeah.
um, just please tell them that not to take advice from anyone who's not done it within the last 6 months. And I mean that really kindly. Like, it's like dating. If your Aunt Edna comes and says, in my day, and you're trying to explain apps and, all of that, it's very different. And
Yeah.
I mean that in the kindest possible way. AI is being used all the time, not out of badness or
No.
because people can't be bothered, but because they're being inundated with applications. This is not about hacking the AI. It's about being the best fit, showing you're the best fit. If you can't say why you want the job, don't apply. And if you don't fit, also don't apply. Don't think, oh, I'll go for it anyway and then get a wee bit arsy when you don't get picked, because you really. So my formula for my careers folk is bold. So we start with a build. We start with what do we want. We don't apply for stuff we don't want and aren't likely to get. It's just pointless for everybody. And then we do own, where you own your own achievements. We land, we get it, and then we distinguish ourselves in the market. It's all again about positioning. So no telling me you're applying for hundreds of jobs. That's not impressing me much, frankly. It's just praying and spraying your CV across the internet doesn't work. It's got to be tailored, tight, using your network, using LinkedIn. And if anyone, needs any help with this, I will be brutally honest about what their chances are so that they don't waste their time, Bex, because so many women are applying for jobs they're not going to get right now and getting sadder and less confident in the process when
I know
actually we
about them.
want to be applying for much less but better.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I really saw that, as you with your clients, when we used to talk about you coaching your clients and how you just really allowed them to stand in their power. And I think going back to you really standing in your power, it allowed your clients to stand even more in that as well. So I just
Yeah.
kind of I love we need the honesty. We need the honesty. And I
You
know
need
you
to be honest. What's the point of me saying, yeah, someone messaged me this morning to say, are you the best person to help me get a job in the creative industry? I was like, no matter what industry it is, if you haven't done it right now, you're against someone who has. So let's talk about that and the steps you'll need to take. Yes, you can go with someone who's really creative and woohoo, they won't tell you what I will. This is a process right now. You're not going to just move from one thing to another thing without doing bits in the middle. And I will walk you through those bits and I'll hold your hand and I'll cheerlead you, but it's not
yeah,
a quick transition right
yeah,
now. And I'd be lying to you if I always say, I'm go to sleep every single night reading grisly detective novels, not a bother. Tell me about transferable skills and I will have the horrors because it's not enough right now.
okay, okay.
Just isn't.
Yeah. Powerful, powerful stuff. Yeah. So if there's anyone listening who knows of someone as well, you've got a lot of string to your bows, which I love. Love
It's
it.
all
Love
about words, it's all about positioning.
it. 100%. Where can people find you? Where's best for them to contact you or follow you?
So mostly on LinkedIn, where I am Laurie Macpherson, and Instagram over there as well, career and LinkedIn mentor. I also have Facebook, and I have a website which is hopefully going to be updated anytime soon. But yeah, mostly LinkedIn and Insta.
Yeah, I'll pop the links if you want to go and follow and have a little look. And also, I just really feel called to say I really feel like you should have a podcast.
My friend would be so pleased. She has a podcast and she is always on at me about a podcast. And I am considering it, that I just, that I take on lots of things and I have lots of strings and I have all my associate work as well, which I'm doing right now. And I would love to. I just fear that it might just be another thing
Yeah,
to tick
maybe then we
also.
can, have a little ponder in the future. I just think you would
Yeah,
be you're very, very funny, and I would just love to listen. It's for selfish
thank
reasons.
you. That's very kind.
But thank you so much for joining me. It has been amazing. And like I said, the kind of journey of where you were when we first started together to how you are holding yourself even in the uncomfortable times, and like you said, they still come, but you know what to do now, is just really powerful to hear. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming and sharing your story, and I know it would resonate with someone who might be exactly where you were before we started together, so thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone. I will see you on the next episode. Bye.